First two classical games ended in draws, and now we are in the first 15 plus 10 encounter. d4, knight f6, knight to f3, d5 by Pragg. We have the queen's gambit and e6 played. Knight comes out to c3 and h6 played by Pragg. Slightly offbeat, but it's gaining in popularity. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. And now Daniil brings his bishop out to f4. The bishop comes to d6, offering a trade of bishops here. Take, queen takes on d6. He pushes his pawn to e3. And now black castles. Daniil playing a very simple, solid opening. Queen c2. Bishop comes out to d3. He goes bg4. And now knight e5 seems like the best move. And knight d7. Giving up the bishop, take on g4, knight takes g4, and Dubov plays bishop e2 and offers a draw, and Pragg accepts it. Wow, what a decision by Dubov to make a draw in just 12 moves with the white pieces. Will it backfire? Will it come to haunt Dubov? Only time will tell. Now in the second game, we can see Praggnanandhaa has the white pieces and he's definitely going to press. It's like Dubov saying to Pragg that, hey, I don't want to press as white. I want you to press, and in you doing so, you will give me my chances that I need to win this game. And it's a very interesting strategy by Dubov. Also, as the time control gets shorter, maybe Dubov fancies himself more and more. But this is a super critical game now with Pragg having the white pieces. The players are ready, a handshake, and off we go. e4 by Pragg, e5 by Dubov, knight to f3, knight c6, and bishop to c4 played. Knight comes out to f6. We have the Italian and d4, a slightly new move, like Pragg generally plays d3, and Dubov goes d6, which is not really liked by the engines. d5, Pragg instantly responds, gaining more space. And Dubov comes back, knight to b8. You can see Pragg's ambition there. He's gained space, he has a nice position, bishop e7. Now Dubov has to be careful. Bishop e7 played, Dubov gets up from his chair, Pragg plays pawn to a4, and Dubov gets himself a couple of bottles of water, and his time, by the way, was 15 minutes and 22 seconds when he went to get these bottles here. And he comes back, adjusts himself in the chair, opens a bottle of water, just comes in there, sits down, and look at the time on his clock. He's down to 14 minutes 22 seconds, which means he took more than a minute here to calm himself down. This is what it means to kind of be in the zone. Now your opponent is going to come at you. You have to play carefully, and Dubov gets adjusted to this new reality that has come now. c6 played. Pragg goes h3, stopping any knight g4 and bishop g4 ideas. Also planning to develop the bishop on e3. Knight comes to a6. It wants to go to c5 and put pressure on e4. Pragg castles, and Dubov also castles. It might be a good idea to put the bishop on e3 now, stopping knight c5 business. And Pragg goes rook d1, which is also a nice move, lining up the rook against the queen. So the queen can move away, queen to c7, and bishop to g5. I'm a bit surprised with this move. Bishop e3 felt natural and normal against knight c5, but bg5, Dubov asks a question and Pragg chops off the knight. Very surprising decision by Pragg, and he's done it pretty quickly there. I'm very surprised that he's given up the dark squared bishop, which is like the heart of his position, knight d2, and you can already see the engine is not really happy with Pragg's decision. Why did Pragg decide this? Not so sure. He just felt that the dark squared bishop was not needed. Bishop goes back to a2. But you will see that the dark squares suddenly are a bit weak. Bishop comes back. Dubov being very careful here. Knight to c4, putting pressure on d6, b6 and a5. And now bishop comes to d7. And whenever, white takes on c6, b takes c6 is a great position for black. So rook b1 by Pragg, he's aiming for b4. By the way, knight, he plays b4, but knight a5, queen a5 and b4 would have been a nice move. But b4 takes, rook takes b4. Now the problem here for Dubov is that, for Pragg, is that the a4 pawn has become slightly weak. With rook looking here, knight already looking here. Knight to b6, putting pressure on the bishop and the rook. Rook to a7 played. He takes the bishop. Every simplification is going to be dangerous for white, because white has a lot of space and also some weaknesses. And Pragg goes queen f3. With this move, he's looking at the f7 pawn, so the rook cannot move. Rook a8, again a calm move there by Daniil. And Pragg now has 4 minutes 43 seconds. He wants to trade queens. Trading here would be nice for white, so maybe keeping the queens makes more sense, and that's what Daniil does. He goes queen c7. He keeps the queens on the board. Queen goes back to g4, looking at the king here. And now king to h7 played by Dubov. h4 by Pragg. Remember, f5 ideas can happen with the king having left this diagonal. Bishop d8, another beautiful move. He wants to maybe move the queen to e7. Bishop a5 is his idea. h5 played. And there you have it. Queen e7, just quietly moving back and forth, putting Pragg in great difficulty. This is not easy what Dubov is doing. B takes c6. And now bishop a5 is the idea. He goes bishop to b3. And now bishop a5. Fantastic move. The rook comes to c4. And Pragg hoping that at some point he gets to look at this c6 weakness. Rook a d8 played. He goes queen f3. And now there's a need to actually break in the center. f5, ef5, d5, I believe, could be very powerful. King h8, he just goes back. And I think in many lines, queen f5 check was coming in. That's no longer possible. So a good move by Daniil. Knight to e2. And now a very strong move exists, which is d5. He plays it. He finds it. Dubov, in his element, takes. Pawn takes. And if rook takes d5, e4, queen f5, you have rook d5, and rook d8, winning the game because of check here and check. So that's the reason why he goes rook g4, e4 played. He pushes forward. And now Praggnanandhaa goes queen to f5. Does he have some attack here? Difficult to say. e3 played. Another beautiful move by Daniil. You see the dark squares are getting hit. It's because he had given up his dark squared bishop. Bishop to d5, taking the pawn. Maybe f3 was more prudent there. But bishop takes d5. Dubov has 1 minute 8 seconds. He takes on f2. Queen f2 taken. And now bishop b6. You see the bishop comes. The dark squared bishop comes to haunt Pragg. King h1. And there is an insane move that Dubov has. Here, knight d3 finds it. He finds this move. Attacking the queen. Queen takes e2. Attacking the rook and this rook. Knight f2 is threatened. Everything can't be protected. Dubov takes the rook. He's now an exchange up. Although Pragg does have few pawns, but that is not going to help him. He goes king to g1. And Dubov now chops off the pawn on a4. The material has equalized in terms of pawns, but black remains an exchange up. Can Pragg survive with this very strong bishop on d5? I don't think so. Queen a1 check. King comes up to f2. And Dubov being so calm here. Queen to e5. He goes queen d4, offering a trade. Well, you can take the queen, but you know the white king is weak. Might as well chop another pawn off. And that's what Dubov does. Queen takes h5. And Pragg goes rook g3, threatening a mate in one here. Queen f5 check, king g1. And now a very calm move, f6. Just taking care of this diagonal. Yes, the bishop opens up, but that bishop is not doing much here, to be honest. Rook e8 played. And Pragg going in, queen to b6. And Pragg's only hope is if Dubov blunders something here. Very unlikely to happen. King gives a check, rook h3, queen e5 check. Rook g3 played. And now queen to d6 played. Offering a trade of queens. Daniil, and he goes queen a7, threatening a mate on g7. Rook comes up to e7. The rook on g3 is pinned. He brings this queen back. But this is all but over now. Playing on the dark squares. Rook e5, threatening rook h5 check. King comes to g1, rook e8. The game is almost over here.